everyone, this is McKenna Rash, and today I'm going to be talking about some presentation tools and tips. So first, let's look at presentation design and some of the rules that should apply when you're designing your presentation. And again, this is mainly for PowerPoint and Google Slides. However, this can be applied to a lot of different presentation formats. So first is the prep work that goes into creating your presentation. So first you should get an idea of who your audience is. This includes what their interests are, what their prior knowledge is, what the key message that you want them to know is. Also, you want to consider features of the room. For example, are you going to be giving your presentation in a dark or a light room, as this may affect the background you want to choose to make your message pop? Is it going to be on a wide screen or a full screen? Is there going to be internet access if you need to connect to a link or a video? So these are some key things you want to know beforehand. Also, when you're planning, you want to make sure you outline what your message and content is before making your presentation, and this just helps ensure that your presentation is streamlined and staying on track. Also, you want to rehearse and practice your presentation, ideally up to 10 to 15 times. And this ensures that even if something were to happen and your presentation turned off, you could continue orally giving your presentation to your audience. Next, you want to think about ways to engage your audience. So a good way to get them from the get-go is attention grabbers. This can include interesting visuals or statistics to help really bring them into your presentation. You want to focus on one key message per slide, and this helps to ensure that your audience has time to digest your message, as well as ensuring that they're not overwhelmed or becoming disengaged because of a slew of messages on your slide. And then finally, you want to be a little cautious with bold colors or text or animations. Using them can really help bring attention to key points. However, if you use it too much, it could detract from your message, detract the importance of such animations or colors, and possibly just overwhelm your audience. So again, keep that perhaps as a little bit of a cautious back burner there. Third, you want to make it visual. So have interesting visuals that play into your content that you're covering. Avoid clip art or low quality stock images, as these can kind of detract from the professionality of your presentation. Include charts, graphs, or diagrams. This can be especially important if you're covering a math or science content or statistic, as again, this can help just provide that visual for your audience. And then finally, when you do have visuals on your slide, have minimal or no text accompanying it. Your narration should really be what accompanies the image on your slides. Number 4 is consistency. You want to use a consistent template and color scheme and text. This helps to prevent and minimize those distractions. It helps ensure that your audience kind of gets to know what to expect as you're going through. Also, if you're using animations or transitions, you want to keep it minimal and you want to keep it consistent. So don't use a different transition for each slide. Use the same transition throughout your entire presentation. And again, this just helps ensure you're not overwhelming your audience. And finally, number 5 is to consider the length of your presentation. Lengthy PowerPoints can quickly lose its luster with the audience. If you are going to have a longer PowerPoint, so maybe bigger than or longer than 10 to 15 minutes, use reminders or recalls throughout your PowerPoint to help mention and remember those previous facts that you covered. And again, this will just help the audience see how the information you talked about in the beginning connects to what you're talking about now. Consider also having handouts or printouts of the key information from your PowerPoint. And again, this is just to help ensure that your audience can recall what you were talking about in your lengthy PowerPoint. So the big key takeaway that is all summed up with this is that the visual display tools such as PowerPoint slides are meant to supplement your presentation. You're really using them to just provide that visual background to what you are talking about, to what you're narrating or demonstrating to your audience. So now we've talked about some of the design rules, I'd like to go over some useful presentation tools that I came upon during my research. So first are some visual tools that could help while you're presenting your PowerPoints. First is to increase your cursor size, and you can do this in your settings. And what you can do is change the size and the color, which helps make it easier for your audience to follow along as you use your cursor. You can also zoom in on pictures by pressing Control and then scrolling with your mouse. And this just helps, especially if you have an image with a lot of details, you can zoom in on those details to talk about them a bit more. And then finally, there is a pen tool in the PowerPoint presentations on the bottom left. And with that pen tool, you can circle or highlight things, or you have a laser pointer to kind of point things out while you're going through the PowerPoint. And this is just a way to help guide your audience's attention while you're doing your presentation. Some other interesting tips are to number your slides. This makes it easier to refer to previous slides, especially with a lengthier PowerPoint, or if your audience has a question, they can reference the slide number that they had a question on. And again, it just helps make it a little bit easier for those kind of tricky spots in your presentation. Also, there's presenter view with PowerPoint if you have two screens, so that way you can have your presentation that your audience sees, and then you can have your presentation on your screen with your extra notes available for key talking points. And then finally, you can have hidden slides, and these hidden slides can act as an additional reference. So say you had an image of a flower and your audience had a question about a specific part of it. Say it was a biology lesson, they had a specific question about a part of it that you weren't originally planning on covering. But if you're a little extra prepared, you can have an additional hidden slide that you can access and show to them depending on their interest again in this subject. So all of these tips and a few more were actually a part of this video on YouTube. And this video is called 9 PowerPoint Tips for Teachers by the Presentation Process. And the tips here were laid out really nice, and they included a lot of walkthroughs of how to use those tools. So I would highly recommend this for everyone to go ahead and view. And to end my PowerPoint, I wanted to talk about an alternative presentation tool called Powtoon. I have not personally used Powtoon too much. However, I'm very interested in looking into it further. Powtoon, is a presentation tool that you can use to make online videos or animated videos to help, again, provide a little bit more interesting components or online access to your presentation. So this can be really useful in the classroom, especially if you plan on having a class page or you want to make videos to help students who are studying for a test or need a little extra information for a project. You can make some interesting classroom videos that they could reference in the future using Powtoon. It is free with minimal access, meaning that you can only make like 2 to 3 minute videos and you don't have a lot of access to the features. Or there are subscription plans that allows you to access those extra features such as longer videos and extra tools that you can use while making your presentation. So that is the only main issue there, is that there are some money conflicts, so to speak. However, I think that this could be a really great tool for someone, especially if they're planning on developing a class web page. So thank you for watching my video. I'm going to go ahead and share my references for a few minutes. I hope that you enjoyed and learned something from my presentation. Thank you again.